amazing artists, Mrs. Parvin here. And this week we're going to learn all about something called symmetry. You may have heard about symmetry in math. It's actually a mathematical term, and it basically means if you were to divide something down the center, you would have a mirror image on both sides. They would be exactly the same. Let me show you what I mean. So there are two main kinds of symmetry, something called linear symmetry and something else called radial symmetry. Let me show you the difference between the two, and then we're going to explore projects using both of those things. Here's an example of linear symmetry. It's kind of like when I showed you I sliced my face down the center. Notice how the seahorses are facing each other, but the details are exactly the same on both sides. It's like a mirror image of each other. Here's an example of radial symmetry, like the inside of a flower. Everything comes from the center and moves out to the edges in a circular pattern, and no matter which way you turn it, the designs repeat in the same way. The first project is going to use linear symmetry, and it's something that I've always called butterfly painting, because no matter how many times I do it, it always looks like a butterfly. Let me show you how. So I have my white paper here. It's horizontal, and then some liquid paint. This is acrylic. You could use tempera. This is just what I happen to have, and you want to have it in a couple of colors. I'm giving it a shake, and now you're just going to start randomly squirting paint onto the paper. There is no set way of doing this. You're just going to keep going. I think I'll put a little blob right here. And now I'm going to switch colors and just keep adding them. That doesn't have to be in any specific way. A little swoosh and a swoop here. And have fun with this part. Obviously do it in a protected area so you don't get paint. You could do this outside even if you wanted to. And just keep going. It's very important not to put too much paint on your paper. So now this is all set, and what you're going to do is you're going to fold the paper in half. Remember, when we fold, this is symmetry, so we want to make sure those corners are lined up. And notice I'm really using my helper hand. I'm going to the center first and then out to the sides to press down on that fold. Now rub, rub, rub the back. This is when the magic happens. Keep rubbing, and then when you open it up, we have, a beautiful symmetrical butterfly. Cool, huh? The second choice is going to be something called a mirror monster. And we're going to use a special technique called carbonizing so that you can make a linear symmetrical design of something very special. Let me show you. So to make your monster, you need a piece of white paper like this. Copy paper is fine, a pencil, and then some kind of pen or marker with the cap on. We're going to start first by folding the paper horizontally, or the hamburger way. Remember, symmetry. We want to make sure it's lined up perfectly corner to corner and fold it down. Open up your paper, and then the magic part to make our monster is this. You're going to actually write your name in cursive right on one side of the paper. Make the letters really big. If you can't write in cursive, you can just print the letters and then make connecting lines. I'm going to write the word brown because I think we're all thinking about school. And notice I'm using all of the space all the way across and up and down like so. Once you've written it, you're now going to take your pencil and do little small scribbles over the lettering to darken the pencil lines, just like this. It's kind of like scratching it back and forth. And that's going to fill in and build up more lead on the letters for when we make a copy of it. like this. Okay, I sped ahead a little bit, so I'm just gonna finish the lettering. I'm scratching over my letters back and forth, darkening those pencil lines like so. Almost done, here we go. Just like little zigzag lines. And now I'm gonna refold the paper on that fold. And if you look closely, you'll be able to see the word through the paper. So keeping it folded and flat, grab that pen, and now we're gonna start rubbing. You're gonna press hard and rub behind the picture, kind of try and follow over the letters. Notice the pen is closed, the marker is closed. I'm just using a Sharpie here, but anything with a hard tip will work really great. And what this is gonna do, it's gonna transfer your name. Okay, I switched pens here. So I'm just gonna scratch all the way across. And now when I open it up, it's like magic. It made a copy on the other side. This is called carbonizing, like a carbon copy. So now I'm just going to outline on both sides of those letters to start to make my monster. Can you guys see the linear symmetry here? So now you can start adding monster features. Look closely at the letters and see what makes sense for the head and the body. So you're going to draw the same way and wiggle that pencil back and forth. And then just keep adding, and this may take a few turns, and then you'll carbonize it the same way. So you're just gonna refold that paper and then take the pen again and rub those new features that you've started to add in the same way, just like this. And you're gonna keep going until you have a design that you're happy with. So here is my finished monster, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time coloring it in, but you could start coloring it in with whatever you may have at home. I'm using markers here. Make sure you do the same thing on both sides. This is linear symmetry, so it needs to be a mirror image. So if you paint one eye blue on one side, you're going to paint the other eye blue on the other. You can even use symmetry by layering your colors like this. So I'm outlining it with the green, and then I'm gonna fill it in, I think, with this blue. And that's how I'm also creating symmetry with colors, by coloring it in the same way on both sides. I can't wait to see what your symmetrical monsters look like. Here's mine. So for our third project, we're gonna do something called a mandala. A mandala is a radial symmetry, so it's a circular form, and it represents sort of wholeness and life, and you can find it in many religious traditions. So it's a circular form with different patterns that have symbolic meanings. There's going to be a couple different ways we can make a mandala, and you can choose depending on what you have at home. Let's get started. So a rectangular piece of paper is not symmetrical, so we need to turn this into a square first. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to fold a corner of the paper up to all the way to the edge, opposite edge, like in a triangle. Make sure it's lined up well, just like so. You're going to press down in the middle and fold it. This is how we're going to turn our paper into a square. Keeping the paper folded, we're going to cut off this little extra piece here. Go really carefully along the line. So I'm cutting super slow to make sure the edge of my scissors is against the edge of that fold, like so. I'm going to set this little piece aside, and then you just kind of want to smooth and flatten out the fold in the paper. Okay, so now we want to find the center point of our square, and the best way to do that is to actually measure with a ruler. You could definitely eyeball it if you wanted to, but my paper is 9 inches by 9 inches, so half of 9 is 4.5. So I'm gonna find that halfway spot, make a little mark here, and then I'm gonna do the same thing in the opposite direction, just trying to eyeball the middle. Now that I have my center, I'm gonna use different size circles to trace going from small to large. Don't forget to use the bottom or the top of things. So you wanna kind of have a variety from small to large. And kind of lining it up on that dot, you're gonna trace around, almost making like a bullseye around that center point. Make sure you're holding your item super steady as you're tracing it. So notice I'm not rushing here. There's the first little one. So it looks like that. And then I'm gonna get the next size up and just keep tracing like so. I'm just lining it up here to center it. And I'm tracing around really slowly and carefully. And I'll keep going until I'm getting bigger and bigger. So here's what it looks like when it's finished. It's like a bullseye. And now we're gonna draw lines still radiating from that center dot. So I'm gonna use my ruler. I wanna make sure it's crossing over that center line. And I'm just gonna draw almost like I'm slicing a pizza in even sections. I'm gonna make one line across and then going this way. You're gonna do a total of 4 lines in 4 directions. So now I'm gonna rotate my ruler and do these diagonal lines through that center dot, going from one edge of the circle to the other. Those of you who like geometry, this is called bisecting your circle. And when you're done, you're gonna have a total of 8 sections or 8 pieces of pie, like so. I switched to Sharpie so you could see everything a little bit better. Now the whole thing about radial symmetry is everything comes from the center and moves its way out. So you're gonna start drawing your design or little patterns from the center, and every section is going to be exactly the same. We just spent a lot of time working on patterns. So look, whatever I do in one section, I'm gonna do in the next section, and you can rotate your paper around to repeat that. So I'm gonna keep drawing the same motif in each little section, turning my paper as I go. And don't worry, I'll hold this up in a moment so you can see it a little bit closer, but it's just the same pattern. Turning your paper really helps you stay focused on getting the exact same shape here in your pattern. Here we go. So take a look. I've done the same thing all around the central axis. So I sped ahead here, but you can see how the mandala is really starting to take shape now. And don't be afraid to use those dividing lines as part of your design. So I'm just making these sort of oval petals here, and I'm still rotating my paper as I'm drawing them. And notice too, I have a variety of sizes of my patterns. So some are more delicate and others are larger. So the key is just rotating the paper. I can't emphasize that enough, but I'm really happy with the way this is turning out. Definitely has that floral design, but it also looks like a lot of things that you may have seen around, either in nature or in other places. So I've got the last one right here, and then notice it's the same all the way around. Okay, so my mandala design is finished. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Notice every section, no matter which way I turn it, is exactly the same. So you could leave it black and white like this, or if you wanted to, you could add color to it. If you're going to add color, it has to be the same in every section, so it's a mirror image of itself. So if you're picking a motif to color it, and make sure you do it the same in every section. Just like when we were drawing it, when you're coloring, you're gonna wanna rotate your paper around to make sure that you're carefully finding those shapes and coloring them in the same way. So I'm gonna work on coloring this for a little bit off camera, and then I will show you what it looks like when it's done. Here's a little sneak peek right here. So here it is all finished. Notice how I used color to really accentuate the patterns in my mandala. Another way you can make a mandala is by using a collage technique. Look at the example here. I'm not going to show you how to do this, but notice that all the shapes are the same all the way around, coming from that central axis, just like the one that we drew together. Here's one that I found made out of colored pasta and beads on a paper plate. And look at this 3D radial symmetry made out of origami. Isn't that amazing? Don't forget to send me pictures of your finished projects. And remember, stay awesome, keep smiling, and know how much I miss you. Bye.